because it's the same revenge playbook, same thing Comey did. It's the same thing they tried to Clarence Thomas. It's the same thing they did with Kavanaugh. And remember, it's all about what Trump said he wanted to do. Because they can't say that Trump withheld the aid. They can't say that Ukraine didn't get what they want. It's absurd. All of it is.
Well, many on the right tonight saying the John Bolton January surprise feels an awful lot like the repeated attempts to take down Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation very late in the game. Is it a fair comparison? Well, let's discuss with host of Left Coast News, Ethan Behrman, and the former Deputy Assistant to President George W. Bush, Brad Blakeman. Great to have you both tonight, gentlemen.
Pleasure. Hi, Shannon.
Okay, I'm going to read a tweet from Dinesh D'Souza. He says, all these bombshells will soon be forgotten. They melt into the air, just like the Roy Moore and Kavanaugh accusations. Their purpose is to cause short-term panic. Only an invertebrate GOP would be freaked out by such a transparent, coordinated scam. Hashtag impeachment trial. Brad, what do you make of that? Because tonight, listen, it's changing the conversation for a lot of GOP senators about whether or not they're going to have to vote on witnesses.
Well, I don't think it makes a difference because, as Professor Dershowitz said, the articles of impeachment alleged against the president are defective as a matter of law. They don't allege a high crime or misdemeanor as defined by the Constitution. So you never get to witnesses if, in fact, the articles themselves cannot stand constitutional muster. And I happen to believe that Rush is right. This is the Hail Mary. When in doubt, create chaos, just like they did in the Kavanaugh hearings. And it's not going to work because the American people are a lot smarter than that. And there's enough time during the impeachment process to expose the Bolton bombshell for what it is. It means absolutely nothing.
Well, writing in the Washington Post, an opinion piece by Professor Jonathan Turley, who's testified in these hearings over on the House side, he says this: the leak happened at the exact time that it would inflict the most damage. The suspicions over the timing of the leak are magnified by the fact that Bolton could have been subpoenaed by the House and compelled to testify. Ethan, they chose not to do that.
Yeah, they did because President Trump did the blanket non-cooperation approach, which is why we have obstruction of Congress, which was also used in Article 2 against President Richard Nixon. But he resigned before facing his articles of impeachment. So I totally disagree with Rush Limbaugh. The idea of inchoate crimes is actually enshrined and is part of common law dating back before the founding of this country. You don't have to complete a crime to be guilty of the crime. We have so many different issues that are happening here. We're not talking about an isolated incident of Ukraine. We're talking about an incredible abuse of power that has happened and haven't even fully investigated things like emoluments and so many other things. This is absolutely appropriate. We need to hear from the witnesses, and especially this John Bolton bombshell. We should hear from him.
Okay, but you used the word crime, and you said you can be guilty of it even if you don't complete it, but you can't be guilty of murder if you don't kill someone.
Well, it's still attempted murder.
Well, yeah, but you're not guilty of murder. I mean,
there is no crime alleged in the impeachment. There are no crimes alleged. That's a fact. So if you believe that you don't have to commit a crime in order for the president to be impeached, that's a different story. But if that is your story, then it doesn't hold constitutional muster, and it should be dismissed without a verdict.
Okay, I want to put up a poll here to let us talk about this. Washington Post ABC News poll says, regardless of whom you support, who do you now expect to win the election for president? President Trump comes out on top, 49%. Democratic candidate, 43%. 8% say they don't know. When they look at this head-to-head as well, I mean, Ethan, 3 months ago, before he was impeached, the numbers were worse. They're better for the president now than before he was put through this whole thing. Is this going to backfire on the Democrats?
I don't believe so. And when you look at the other national polls that actually name a Democratic candidate, like Joe Biden, he continues to poll very well against President Trump, in some cases double-digit leads. So it is theoretically possible, of course, that President Trump gets reelected, but the popular vote is going to be an even greater margin than it was with Hillary Clinton.
What do you think, Brad?
I think President Trump is going to be reelected because we know how the play ends, and that is it's going to be an acquittal, at worst, and at best it's going to be a dismissal outright of the articles of impeachment. And we also know the economy couldn't be doing better. We know also, as a matter of fact, that people tend to vote with their wallets, and if they go into the voting booth and the economy is as good today as it will be in November, Democrats have a hard argument. He's beat impeachment and the economy is good. I don't know how the heck you get around that.
All right. Well, we'll see, because I think that this may feel like ancient history by then, the way the news cycle and the scandals go these days. Although, if this turns into a situation where they vote to hear witnesses and that actually happens, this thing could go on for a long time. So come back and talk about it again. Ethan and Brad.
Thanks.
Good to have you both.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right. No